Peace and blessings. This is Raisa Giwala, the divorced Muslimah coach. Today's verse is coming from chapter 4, number 28. Allah intends to make things easy on you, and man has been created weak. Wow, look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts those two sentiments together of Him telling us, this is my intention for you. This is how I have created your deen for you, right? This is what is placed in this book. You'll find ways of making things easy on you, right? And we know from our deen that it takes a middle ground in everything. There's no extreme on either end, right? We have a balanced middle ground path that our deen offers us. And in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also couples together. And hey, guess what? You guys are created weak. Like that's a fact. And it's not a judgment, or it's not a flaw. It's parcel of our nature. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us insight into who we are. And why that is important is when we can accept, acknowledge, and embrace who we are, we're not going through life resisting and fighting our own self. What do I mean by that? Okay, because we can make, as human beings with our lofty thinking, can make life so much more harder than it needs to be for ourselves, innocently. So what do I mean by that, right? When we innocently approach ourselves or think about ourselves in a way of judgment, of harshness, of having to be perfect, trying to be someone that we're not, we're never gonna be. So why would we want to hit our head up against a brick wall trying to be something that will never be? This is what I mean about acceptance and acknowledgement and embracing our human nature. Right? Because when we're not seeing this, and we're trying to be perfect, or we think that we have to be perfect, or we've been led to believe that we have to be perfect through, what we've learned through life, what we've picked up, what people have told us, the messages that we've gotten, how we've been conditioned, and it just becomes like this really ingrained belief, a subconscious belief that you're not even realizing, but that's what's happening, that's what's playing out. And you have to act like you have to be perfect, your home has to be perfect, your children have to be perfect. What does that even mean, right? Like everything you do or touch has to be perfect. There's a difference between perfection and excellence. Okay, we are striving for excellence with our intention and our effort. We're not striving for perfection. And what does that even mean? According to whom? Like, who's judging that? Who is to say what is perfect? Because perfect to me may mean something very different than perfect to you, right? And then you're also outsourcing your actions, like your definition of perfection. You're outsourcing that. You're letting someone else, whether it's culture, whether it's society, whether it's family, whether it's your parents, whether it's your spouse, whether it's even what you see on the media, having to live up to a standard that you feel you have to meet in order to be good enough, in order to be successful, in order to be perfect. We're not striving for perfection, right? And that's what I mean. Like that, doing that, we're setting ourselves up for overwhelm, for burnout, for just being ill, right? Ill emotionally, physically, and it totally misleads us, and it takes us off path, takes us off track of striving for excellence rather than perfection, because we're never going to attain perfection. It's just not going to happen. And it's just like going through a vicious cycle of failure. No wonder you feel like a failure, right? When we start thinking that way, of course you're going to feel like a failure, because if you're not perfect, then something must be wrong with you. You must be failing. But however, it doesn't work that way, right? And we don't need to kill ourselves. We don't need to berate ourselves. We don't need to be harsh with ourselves, right? by doing what it is that we need to do, right? And so we want to, and what is it? What do I mean by that? What's the opposite of that? The opposite of is self-compassion, self-forgiveness, self-kindness, right? Self-love. But like I had mentioned in a couple of videos back, it doesn't, that compassion, forgiveness, and love and care that we need to give to ourselves, we're not going to be able to give it to ourselves if we don't get it from an unconditional source that's connected to us. We're not going to get it from outside of us, right? So we have to get it from the source, the never-ending source, give it to ourselves, and then we can reflect that outside, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also telling us that He knows what He has created. He knows us best, and He knows what our weaknesses are and our potentials. And so our value and our worth comes from the fact that we exist, and that's full stop. So Allah is making things easy for you in terms of middle ground. So don't self-sabotage and kill yourself and make things, hard for yourself. And it just came to mind in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Prophet, peace be upon him, I think it might have been in Surah Kahf, where like you're gonna kill yourself out of worry of people believing or not believing, right? Like those are outcomes, and that's only in Allah's hands. Of what we're capable of is our intention and our effort. Are we trying, right? So we don't want to get into self-sabotage. So what do we need for that? The starting point is awareness. The starting point is consciousness, self-awareness, self-consciousness, coming to being conscious of God, right? And so every day as you rise, from the time you open your eyes and continue to be in that state of rising and elevating, every moment there's an opportunity for self-reflection, self-consciousness, God consciousness, right? And that's the purpose of Ramadan. So rise with taqwa this Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.